were a bit raunchy and raucous.
We kept you on a really short leash.
Nice to be on someone's leash sometimes.
I was gonna say, with that hair, you better play an instrument. It is so rock and roll. I love it.
I think she's a they. That didn't come out right. Can you do this for, a donut?
People will do anything for a t-shirt.
That's like genius.
Coding in progress.
So your hair is looking a little more honey color.
Yeah. That blonde is a little harsh, man. Holy cow! When your own mom called you Billy Idol, you're like, I need to do something about this. But yeah, it was quick 20-minute toner. So much.
Oh man.
All right,
Okay,
well, listen, this is
waiting
someone
room.
that you found, a lesbian curiosity coach. We're going to
Yes.
find out more about what that is and what it entails.
Mhm.
And our guest is Samantha Fox. So let's let her in. That's
cannot wait to
fantastic
find out.
name.
Okay, hi.
Hello. Just let me know we're recording already.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Okay, good. I'm Denise. That's JD. And I was just explaining to viewers that we are really interested to know what a lesbian curiosity coach is.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I see my name there. That's so cool. Yeah. So, I think people think of it in different ways. So I am a lesbian. Curiosity is not something that everybody, I'm going to say is not cultivated in everybody from an early age. So some people grow up in a way where they're not really allowed to have curiosity and their curiosity gets shut down. So, right. So I am a therapist and I'm also a sexuality coach. And I believe curiosity is the key to starting to understand yourself and understand the world and just being able to look through a curiosity lens. So I think there's a couple different ways to look at lesbian curiosity coach. So I am a lesbian, I do help people cultivate curiosity. And then I also work with folks that are coming into their sexuality later in life.
Okay.
And they are, curious, but afraid to be curious because of, the society we live in and homophobia, which really comes from religion and compulsory heterosexuality. So there's just a lot of different components. So it's kind of whichever way you want to look at it. Like, I'm curious about being a lesbian, or this is a person who's a lesbian and they're going to help me learn how to be curious.
Okay, that's really interesting. Like, yeah. I'm like, wow, I think about when my curiosity was piqued, in very late 20s, early 30s. I was so thankful for AOL chat rooms.
Oh, yeah.
That was the exploration, part of all of it. And and I feel like, people have way better options now.
Totally.
Yes.
Options now than they did in the 90s,
I think like our generation would be more apt to be the ones that would have maybe somehow buried it. Like in my case, I guess you would really call that late to life, right? I mean, I was married for 25 years to a man, and I think I know it was always there, but it wasn't anything I struggled with until I was about my 40s. So, I mean, I got married young. I was 19, but yeah, I think that like younger people now, maybe do you find don't struggle as much with the curiosity because it's so acceptable?
I think it really depends on, where you grow up and what kind of, community you grow up in, what kind of family you grew up in. So I have worked, I also have a podcast, and I have had people contact me who are younger, in their 20s or 30s, who grew up in really religious communities.
I'll do
And
it. Yeah.
yeah, and they really struggle. Really struggle. So I think it kind of, probably in the South, in different areas in the South in this country. And so I mean, look, gay rights are under threat right now, right? So I think that there's not like yes, there's a lot of openness and it's everywhere and it's on social media and you can watch any show and there's gay characters and gay storylines and gay movies and all of that. So we're worlds away from the 90s. I came out in 2002. I also was married to a man and had 3 young kids. I had been married for about 7 years when I came out. So, but I still think while I think there's more fluidity and there's more acceptance of fluidity and there's more acceptance of queerness. I also think that that's not everywhere.
No, it's really not. I mean, you look at rural America and middle America, and I remember even back in 2006, 2007, 2008, when my other co-host and I were doing the Lesbian Lounge, and we would get emails from people that lived in small towns and had no gay friends. There was no
Yes.
LGBTQ centers. There was
Yes.
no community for them. And they would say, like, if we hadn't found you guys, like, and they were so committed, like they would sit there for 2 hours every Wednesday night because there was no other queerness around for them to relate to. And it always stuck with me. Like we were fortunate to be in South Florida, where anything goes anytime, back then, a little different
Yeah.
now, but yeah, like we just felt so fortunate that we could be there, for those people. And we always made sure back then to offer resources for people that could go online and that kind of thing, because obviously there were none in their area. So we did the best we could, like trying to put resources out there, still be funny and take the edge off of everything. And that was probably like the all we could do at the time. That was it. That was the most we could do. But what you're doing now, because there's such a greater reach, with social media, with TikTok and Instagram and everything, I would imagine, you get a lot of people reaching out, and that's fantastic. I wish we would have had those platforms back then. Like Facebook was swept on the scene like in 2010, but
Yeah.
that wasn't the best back then. MySpace, little, but now, I mean, my God, everything is accessible, in their hands, in their phones. But I think you're right. I think there are always going to be families that maybe they are religious, or maybe they have, they're ultra conservative, and, they're tracking your phone, they're looking what you're doing, and it makes it really, really difficult. But I think one of the best possible things you could do is have a job or a business, like yourself, and it's considered a safe space, because that is the thing that people are looking for,
Yeah.
especially right now. So, well done you making a safe space for someone that's young or old, or in between, because it's so needed right now, and people just, their fears are legitimate. I say it all the time. Just because I'm over here in London, and we don't have the same issues that America's have, and we have a little bit. It's creeping. We got the Reform Party and the right wingers. It's creeping, but it's nowhere near like what's happening over there. And all my friends, are fearful. Their jobs. I have a friend that works for Centerlink, which links up every LGBTQ queer, community center in the country. 257 of them, links them up, sends them resources and all that. They're grant-based companies, and their funding is getting cut left and right. Their staffing has been slashed in half, and it's scary. It really is. And then you have like a whole group of people that are going, nah, everything's fine. Like, no, no, it's not.
Yeah, what's really interesting? So I started this. I mean, I've been a therapist since 2012. So I've been just practicing as a therapist all along. But because I came out late, during COVID, I was like, oh, I can finally get women together online. I don't have to worry about actually providing a space. That was always, I live in New York City, and I was like, well, how am I going to get a space, and how is this going to work?
Yeah.
So I was able to get these women together online, and I started creating this program, which is called Unbox Your Sexuality, which is a 12-week program that's strategic in terms of it's sort of like peeling back the layers of an onion for women to really start to understand how to, because a lot of women get to, like you, JD, like get to like 40s. I see a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're just like, how did I get here? Like, how did I
Right.
not know? And,
Yeah.
and so anyway, this program really takes them through unpacking, unlearning, and then unleashing and just really kind of consolidating themselves. So I have this platform, which is a Mighty Networks platform. It's like just a platform. People use different platforms for their programs and things like that. Just last week, the UK blocked my platform, and my clients in the UK can't access my platform anymore because it was deemed adult material.
God, like I read the whole thing about Pornhub, and I was just kind of like laughing it off, like, oh my God, every dude, in the UK right now has to find a different wank bank, and,
Yeah.
and because they just cut it right out, like they just pornographic stuff. Nope, not having access to it
Oh,
anymore. But, oh my
wow.
God, is there a way to classify what you're doing as something other than that?
No, I mean, all sex educators and like sex workers, everybody is now banned unless you hire another company to do age verification, which is like, I don't
Oh,
know, $50,000 a year, which is insanity.
it's,
Yeah, so I mean, other than getting a VPN and buying a VPN, so if you buy a VPN, then you can bypass the system and get
yeah,
in,
right.
which I just finally found out with a couple of clients that I've been working with because they were just banned. They couldn't get access to my community and whatnot. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea. Everybody's rushing
Yeah.
to the tunnel bear. Get your VPNs right to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have to do that to watch Saturday Night Live clips because they were geographically blocked over here, and I couldn't figure it
Wow.
out. I was so mad. But yeah, I would use Tunnel Bear like to watch certain clips of shows that for some reason were geo blocked over here.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you find people are reaching out to you uh from cultures where they're really oppressed to even admit that they would be feeling same-sex feelings
Oh,
and
yeah.
when they reach out, are they like in secret? Like, are they, I mean, is it hard
Yeah.
for them to get access to be online without other people knowing that they don't want to know?
Yeah, I mean the network I have is private, so the only people that are in it are people that have a link to get into it. So, but the thing I find the most, and this is just so sad, is that like I just interviewed somebody yesterday who's going to be on my podcast this week, and she just found me on Instagram. She just typed in questioning, and she's in her early 50s, and she doesn't want to be shown, and we changed her name, and that's fine with me. But she can't join like anything. I have some low ticket offers and then I have a little bit pricier offers. She can't join any of them because her spouse controls the money. And this is what I see with women is that it is very hard for them to find a way to do this work, even though the way it would show up, even on a credit card bill, it doesn't say anything having to do with this kind of work. It has a completely different name.
It's just some charge that the husband's going to grill her about.
Yes.
Oh,
And then so there's that. And then there's also this feeling of like, I can't spend marital money on figuring this out about myself because what if it means that then the marriage ends? Then I use marital money to end the marriage.
right.
I mean, so it's this really like,
Conundrum.
twisty,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it really prevents a lot of people from being able to do the work, which is so it's a really tough. I have tons of content. I mean, Instagram, TikTok, I have a much bigger community over there. I have so much content. I have people that have fully transformed their lives, come out, divorced, they're even married now to their wives
Yeah.
just through my content. So there's a lot that you can get without working with me, but it's really hard to get people that can work with me. And usually they're people that either have very supportive husbands who understand that they're going through this difficult phase, or they are professional women. They're women that have worked, they have money, they can spend the money and figure this out. But the other women that are dependent on men, they are really stuck.
Yeah. And it, again, I mean, especially not knowing everyone's situation, and the last thing you want is for someone to end up in a domestic altercation because their husband found out or something like that. So it's a tightrope, it's a real tightrope, and it's awful, that it has to be this way,
Yeah.
yeah,
You were fortunate, Denise, that your husband was very understanding and cooperative, and
yeah. No, I always say I was so
well, that
fortunate.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fortunate. Same with his family and my family. Even though we divorced, our families every holiday together, they would go do stuff on the weekends together, and it didn't affect those relationships at all. It was, and then even when he um was dating somebody else and ended up, being engaged, like she just slipped in, like, and there was no commotion, nothing,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
was lucky.
I would bring, dates to different functions and stuff, and everybody was always super cool and supportive about it, and yeah, but I really consider myself one of the lucky ones because,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get me wrong, like my mom, there was an adjustment period. My mom didn't just be like, great, it was like very tentative, kind of waiting to see if I was gonna like show up in, combat gear and some like
Out
just
with a show called The Lesbian Lounge.
I know. So, yeah, like, it's so surprising. Thank God by that time she was so super supportive. But yeah, in the 90s, like when it was all happening, um, I think if I'd have done it any other way, my mom may have had a bigger issue. But I legitimately went to a therapist, and talked my way around like a year with her. And then when I had finally come to grips, figured things out, and was comfortable with it, she was like, all right, now let's get your husband in. We'll tell him together. And if he has any questions and that kind of thing. And then Chuck and I lived with it for a year almost on our own without blasting it in people's faces right away. Like, let's just sit with this for a little bit and get comfortable before we go telling everybody else. And again, so fortunate because every person that I felt like I had to tell, he came with me. And
Wow.
I was like, you don't have to do this. And he would say, I feel like they need to see that I'm okay, and then they'll be okay,
That was awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, and I
So
know that
good.
he harbored a lot of like fear for me.
Mm.
He was literally having nightmares about me getting beat up outside of a club, and I'm like, stop watching Queer as Folk. But he really did, and then he would grapple with the guilt of like, but I wasn't there to help you, like I wasn't there to, that kind of thing. And I was like, it's we can't live our lives in fear.
No.
It was fearful just to do this part, but now I gotta live, you know. And I just know that I have to be cautious and aware of my surroundings all the time and stuff and be safe. But I don't need you carrying that burden, you know.
Mm.
You go live your life, have fun. And we did always remain close, like right up till he passed away. Just super, super close, brother, sister close, like ridiculously like that. So yeah,
Do you
but that is not often the case, and it's hard.
Yeah. I mean,
have,
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's kind of surprising because I had the opposite. I mean, Denise, it sounds like you went through this with a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
Um, how you went about it, kind of. It
Yeah,
sounds like
and
it.
I didn't really know any other way, like to
Yeah.
yeah.
Mine was like kind of the opposite. And I always say, like, the way I went about it was the wrong way. And
Oh,
it kind of created such a backlash for so many years for me that I was just kind of like, why am I living through all of this? Like, God, what kind of, like, how did I end up in this life? Like, why? Like, this is so hard, you know?
Yeah.
Because I also had 3 kids under 5 when
That's,
I came
yeah.
out. And, you know, and so, yeah, I had like 2 5-year-olds and a 2-year-old.
Oh,
So, and I had been a stay-at-home mom, you know, and he had been out working. So it was, but I blew it up. Like, I just blew everything up because I didn't realize it until I met somebody. And then when I met this person, that's what was my catalyst, and it woke me up. And so I went from being, you know, as straight as I thought I was, you know, certainly depressed and
yeah.
felt dead and didn't want anything to do with him physically ever.
Yeah.
But I was happy as a mom, you know, and to meeting this person and then just being like, oh my God, like I am not dead, I'm gay, you know, and I mean,
Huge
that's what
difference.
it is. I'm just
Yeah.
gay. And
Title for a
so,
book.
yeah, totally. I'm
Great
not dead.
title
I'm
for
gay.
your book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyway, I frequently say I went about it just really in the wrong way, but I think that I lived through so much that it really helped me do the work that I'm doing now to journey with people. And I understand that there is no one right way, but I
No,
do
no.
believe that when you go through it the way you did, Denise, and I don't know about your story, JD, but um, I have been like moved to tears time and time again by the friendship and the deep caring that men have shown. I've worked with many women with their spouses, and I mean, the understanding, and yes, they're grief stricken and they're devastated, but they are supportive. And
Yeah.
I lived through such a horrific 2 decades after this. I mean, just horrific.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
just so hard. And I mean, still to this day, he still does not like me at all.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. But I found, wow, my case is not the norm, which I really love that I
That's
have faith
interesting.
in men. Like I have seen the most just, you know, loyal and caring and supportive and
Yeah.
deeply attached, you know, friendships. So I just want to say that I think when you do go through this way of integrity that you did, there is really the possibility that you can come out with an intact connection and friendship.
Yeah. Yeah. We always said that regardless of the end result of the marriage, we knew that we loved each other. It wasn't like romantic love. It was
Mhm.
love, but it wasn't romantic love. And we always say that maybe it was to bring our families together. You know, like
Mm.
that was a big part of it. Like his families felt like blood relatives to me. You know, his family did, and you know mine to him. And I think I was again lucky. We didn't have children. You know,
I
we
didn't either.
yeah, we had only been married for 4.5 years when all
Okay.
this went down. But I think that he had so much respect, you know, that was you know, and me too, you know, to the point of where I was like, take the house. Like I felt like I ruined his dreams and I felt like really guilty about it. I'm take the house, keep the couch. I'll get other stuff. Like, don't worry about me, like that kind of thing. And but yeah, I think we always like valued one another, you know, being in one another's lives, and
When
his
I
was the same way, you
and
know.
when I heard your story, I was like, she did do that with such grace and integrity because
I was a
I
mess the whole time, you guys. It wasn't like I just sauntered in and figured it out.
I mean, when
It was
you
Yeah.
a
said
lot here.
you went through the steps, the therapist, you talked to him, you know, and I didn't go about it in the right way either, but it was a different not way than your way, Samantha, because I just kind of removed myself from the marriage, and we were like best friends too. Like we knew each other from 16 years old, and never really fought much or anything, but there was no intimacy for many years. I
Mhm.
struggled with endometriosis, so I blamed a lot of it on that because I didn't feel well. We tried to have children and went down that whole infertility route, and that was also something that's an intimacy killer on its own, but then when I realized I was gay, I didn't say anything, but I started to go play. I'm a musician. I started to play in the gay club, so I was in that world, and it was completely
Oh, we all knew.
explainable.
Samantha,
Denise,
we all knew.
everybody else knew, right?
Oh,
I
I
was
love
in the
it.
lesbian lounge as a guest many, many times, and
Oh my
they,
gosh.
they were like, "When you come
Gave us
out, we
so many
want that
opportunities.
exclusive,"
We
and I
gave
would
us
deny
so many
it.
opportunities. Every time she was like, "Is there anything you want to tell us, Jay?"
I was like, deny, deny, deny. But what happened was, because I started to just travel then and tour a little bit, it gave him time, and there was no intimacy. It gave him the opportunity to find someone else. And so he had someone on the side, and then she wanted him to be with her, and he didn't want to. They were both, she was married too, so, but she became like a psycho, like a total psycho. And then let me know, made me know then. So then she outed him. She pretended to be my fan. It was a whole thing. But
Wow.
it
Yeah.
was such a mind fuck, because I thought she was a fan for 8 months.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
was a 28-year-old woman, and she was a 52-year-old woman. And there was no Rachel that used to come to see me. I couldn't put a face to this person. But the thing is that we divorced because of the cheating, not because of me being gay. But I kind of always like felt like I went away from the marriage. I just abandoned him intimacy wise. But he would bring me flowers when he would pick me up from the airport when I'd be traveling and stuff, because I guess he was guilty from cheating, and and we still loved each other. Like, Denise, we were like close. We grew up together. Our families were close. So when the dust settled of me being angry from being cheated on, then I had a girlfriend, and he knew. I didn't really know he knew, because we were still living in the same house at that point.
Oh my
For
gosh.
financial reasons, I didn't want my family to know, because my dad wasn't well. It was a whole thing, and
Okay.
my niece's uh, my niece's marriage broke up the same weekend I found out about his cheating. So it was like they were dealing with that, and I couldn't bring this into the family as well. So only a few people know. Like, you knew, Denise, my friends knew, and my family didn't know for 2 years. He would come to weddings, holidays, but nothing else really. And then I never knew he knew I had a girlfriend, but I remember one Christmas Eve, she was my friend. We went to dinner, and he joined us because the family didn't know. And I don't think I ever told you this, Denise, when she walked in, he jumped up and said, "Oh, you sit here." Like, he knew she was with me,
Oh, no, no, okay.
and he's like, "You sit next to her. I'll move over there." And I was like, "Does he know? Like why? Because as
Yeah,
far as I knew, we're like living separate lives just under the same roof.
right,
And
right.
then then I finally told my family when he moved out, when he had a girlfriend. It was still hard for me to see him not coming home than being with somebody. I can't explain that. I didn't want to be with him, but it was hard for me to see him not coming home and being with someone else. And I said to him, "I think we can't live together anymore, because I can't watch this.
Yeah.
See,
And
my ex-husband was a complete opposite. He was like, "Have all your friends over. Let's do poker night with all the girls." He would entertain. He would order pizzas. He would be like playing poker night with all my friends or whatever, and weekend sleepovers. And he would go out and get bagels, and I'd be like, "No, it's a one night stand. Like, I don't want her to stay for breakfast. Like, this is ridiculous.
voucher, you had the vouchers for
I got a
McDonald's,
plan. I don't need your bagels." But yeah, it was
breakfast vouchers for the one night
yeah,
stand.
I was like,
Oh
there was
my gosh.
supportive, and then
That's
there was my ex-husband, like
but to wrap this up, so we don't go into the JD miniseries, we're still business partners, and we're very good friends. He's remarried. I have a girlfriend. We all go out sometimes to dinner or whatever. And it's okay now, but it took a long time to be okay.
Yeah.
I had to get over the anger of being cheated on, because he took her in our home, and that's the thing I couldn't get past, her being in my bed, and she tormented me. She was a psycho, like a fatal attraction. So she would torment me on a daily basis, sending me emails about everything they did and just poking at me and
Pictures, right? Pictures.
my God, she left me the up close and personal pictures of them that he was stupid enough to let her have. And so when I got past, I never left the business because it was my way of making a living too. So I stayed in the business and wasn't there in the beginning and worked from home. And then now, it took a while, but the anger went away. I saw a therapist, and then we went to her together, and then I just stayed with her and he stopped going. And then we're, thank God, it worked out okay. And she even tells me today, like, I can't, it's very unusual to see the kind of relationship that you have with your ex-husband, that everything is so amicable. We have joint bank accounts together because of the business, and I ask him about personal financial stuff, and he helps me. He'll fix my car when it needs to be fixed. He fixed my
Oh,
plumbing the
wow.
other day. So it does work out if you have the right person, like you said, and but I
Yeah.
don't think I went about it the right way either. Like when I heard your story, Denise, I was like, man, I wish I had the courage to do what
Let
you
me tell you,
did.
it wasn't like I like actively sought out a therapist for this. My mother had a restaurant in a plaza in Florida on the ground floor, and all the businesses in that plaza used to come in every day, breakfast, lunches, whatever. And there was a woman there, and her husband had a wellness center. They were both therapists, so they would come in every day. They were like friends. So it was a very comfortable move for me to, to talk to her about this because I already felt like I knew her, and I was, super comfortable with her. So, I didn't like actively, I mean, I was lucky that it had just fallen in my lap that way, you know. Yeah, she was really good because and the weird thing is like I never ever had to say to her, gosh, please don't tell my mom what's going on, because me and my mother worked at this place together, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I never had to say that. I just trusted, I just trusted her. And I knew,
Yeah.
and Chuck knew her as well, from like then after I left the business, I worked in little theater, and my therapist and her husband used to come all the time. So Chuck actually knew her too, because he worked doing the sets and stuff. So it just worked out,
That's great.
I can't take a lot of credit. Like I put this massive effort into all of it. It was just, all these things were going on, and I'm sure that's what does it, especially for women, late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Like you said, there's so much out there that gets you thinking that was never there before, you know, and that's what it is. Whether it's, like you said, gay characters on TV that all of a sudden you're like, I dress like that. You know, I say things like that, you
Or
know.
almost like it's okay if you see it depicted on
Yeah, but it
TV.
also, right, but yeah, but it resonates with you and you got to figure out why. If
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's never there and then all of a sudden you're having these thoughts, you do need someone to help you and coax you and through it, because they come from nowhere. They come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think a lot of people kind of think, you know, I mean, especially if you're gay, but you don't know, it's like, it's kind of, I don't know, you're just like in a relationship with a man and you're like, this is how everybody feels. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
not like,
Right.
yeah, I mean, maybe it looks different in the movies or whatever, but you talk to your friends and your all friends are also kind of like, oh God, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
can't wait for it to end, or whatever
Yeah,
they say.
yeah.
So then it just, right? So then you don't really think about it. But then I think what happens, so they're kind of like dead end, living a life of like not really having any kind of like desire. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden now, because there is so much content,
Yeah.
whether it's like lesbian TikTok with like the soft masks or whatever it is, like,
Yes. Yeah.
right, then women or even like porn. Like I have, people who are just like, oh, I've noticed that like I only watch the women. I
Yeah.
only like the women. I only get turned on by the women. And this starts to kind of seep in and it's like, oh, like does that mean something about me? You
Yes.
know?
Yes.
And so, but when you're raised in certain communities or like in extreme religion, like evangelical Christianity or something,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not allowed to talk about sex. Like it is off limits. You can't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I have clients who are therapists who, from when they were young, they were like, yeah, like, I'm with the guy because like that's what I'm supposed to do and that's what I get all the feedback from. Like I have the boyfriend that's like that in the the head of the football team or whatever. But, when I'm like masturbating, I'm just thinking about like the girls. Like I'm only attracted to girls,
Right.
but everybody, this is normal. Like everybody must feel this too. That's what they
Oh,
think because
yeah.
they're not allowed to talk about it. So
Right.
they think this is how everybody feels. We all just have to do that. And this is what turns us on. And then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, like, wait a second,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, there's so many, like you said, that obviously there's a boatload of content out there everywhere you look now. Um, but also the inner dialogue, that you're having that you don't feel comfortable sharing with friends or family or, it's ridiculous. It never ends until you
Yeah.
figure it out, and it will make you crazy.
Yeah.
Like just trying to understand, why do I feel like this and why does this work for me and why do I keep going back to this? And so yeah, I mean those are things I think in this day and age right now where we're at, we kind of understand that there's a reason for it. But 10, 15, 20 years ago, we just struggled with it like a hamster on a wheel, But now
Yeah.
there are so many resources out there and in ways of going about it, I mean, I I I think if there was a way to just slide into someone's DMs and ask a couple of questions back then, maybe that's the route I would have went down, but that wasn't an option.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think nowadays it's important to have legitimate safe space businesses like what you have so that people can feel comfortable and can whether or not they're in a situation, religious, conservative, domestic, whatever, just just exploring their sexuality,
Yeah.
they have, the easiest of options now to just send a message and say, here's where I'm at. Can we do something? Can you point me in the right direction? Whatever. But there's so many options now that are out there, and the more the merrier, the more the better, because I think when we talk about women late in life, you know, um, it's a it's a big, it sounds so stupid like a little kid. It's a big brave step to make that first,
Oh my
make
God.
that to reach out,
So
Um,
brave. Yeah.
yeah, it is a huge, huge step, but they yeah, there's a level of comfort that they need to continue,
Yes.
and that's why businesses like yours are so important because I don't think they know, you know, I think they're scared. They're so scared. So it's
So
lovely.
scared.
Yeah, it's just lovely. And like I said, it doesn't have to be that they're married or, religious or anything. It could just be a late in life realization, light bulb thing, and
Yeah.
they want to pursue it, but they're not ready to open it up to the group.
Oh, yeah. I have women that have come to me that are in their 50s that have not ever had a boyfriend. Might have had like a little fling with somebody in college, but nobody knew about.
Yeah,
And then they go through their whole life single and they work and they are hardworking and whatnot, that still somehow identify, when they come to me, they identify as bisexual. And I'm just like scratching my head. I'm like, you've
Yeah.
never been with a man. Like,
Yeah.
you're not attracted to men. You've never been with a man. Like, what makes you?
It's the toe in the pool, isn't it though? Because I did the same
Yeah.
thing. Like when I was first trying to figure things out, that was the first logical step was to say, oh, maybe I'm bisexual because I
Yeah.
married to a man. We do have
Yeah.
sex, he's kind of cute. But I'm always looking at the women, I'm always we play the game when we're out, having a couple of drinks, like what's your type, oh, what about that? And it was just like, oh yeah, maybe that's what it is. And in reality, I kind of already knew that it wasn't, but it was that little dunk in your toe in the pool to just to get a reaction to see like if you did mention that to a friend or whatever, and they're like, oh
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But it goes back to just like, which is the thing that gets me so fiery all the time, which is just that if we grew up in a society where we weren't governed by the heteropatriarchy, we wouldn't have any of this. So, in other words, there would be no compulsory heterosexuality. So this idea that you've never been attracted to a man at all, you've never had sex with a man, and you've never married a man or been in a relationship with a man, and you're 50, but you have had a relationship with a woman,
Yeah.
and nobody knew about it, and you identify as bisexual is crazy because it comes from compulsory heterosexuality,
Yeah. Oh my God.
right?
My wife is like right on this. We have these discussions all the time. She's
Yeah.
says almost word for word what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
So
you
this is
ever
like my fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This might be a weird question, but did you ever have someone curious come to you and then realize they're not a lesbian, that they really have,
Yeah, I
but
mean, I have people that are, so I have a community called the Bi Life, which is women that are, they might be divorced now, but they've been married to men, or they are married to men, and they're just kind of like they're coming to terms with their bisexuality. And where that goes, I mean, I have no agenda for people. I'm not like I'm going to turn you into a lesbian, It's like whatever works for you. If you're pansexual, if you're bisexual, if you're just under the big queer umbrella, or you're fully lesbian, whatever works for you is that's where we're going. But I definitely have people that come and they explore their bisexuality, and they also then decide they're going to stay in their marriage. I have people in this particular community that are in their marriage. Their spouses are their best friends. They have kids with them. They have no sexual intimacy. They have not had that in years and years. And they are now practicing poly. They are ethically non monogamous. He has a
oh,
girlfriend. She has a
oh,
girlfriend. They
Oh,
figure
oh,
it out, but they still spend a lot of time together as a family. I mean, so there's millions of possibilities of
yeah.
ways. So not everybody ends up saying I'm totally gay, but a lot of them do, and it takes time to actually realize that. But again, I have no agenda for them.
Right. You're not steering them down any road. You're just listening.
No, to
Yeah.
themselves, only
Yeah.
to themselves.
Right.
Whatever's true for them. Yeah.
That's great because you don't want to have a garage full of toasters that you can't get rid of. So
Exactly.
that's perfect. But
Yeah.
I do think like if someone has reached out or initiated, a conversation, then there's something on their mind that they want to get to the bottom of, and
Yes.
whether it's like you said, queer, poly, bi, whatever, it's there, and it seems like if they take that first step of initiating a conversation, then again, big brave move. Like no,
Totally.
seriously, big
right,
brave move that
completely.
that they want to have this conversation and they want to explore further or figure it out. So
Yeah.
this is the kind of work that's so needed.
Mhm.
Like there's so few people that do what you do, and so many people that need to have the
Right.
conversations. Like it's so
Absolutely.
unbalanced. But yeah, I think it's a great um it's a great thing that you're doing, because yeah, people need to have.
That's why when I found you on Instagram, I was like, I think she'd be perfect for the show because we just it's so needed, like Denise said, it's
Yeah,
something needed
and we
a
do.
lot
We talk
out there.
yeah, but we talk a lot about, people that come out, late.
Mhm.
And I've heard, since I've moved here, I've hosted at, lesbian festivals,
Out
that,
and Wild, the Out and Wild, or
no, the L Fest.
okay.
Doing L Fest for like 4 or 5 years in a row, and it kept expanding. First it was like music and art, and then it was like music and arts and wellness and, all kinds of stuff. And it was, women of a certain age, but then it started getting really, really young, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm out." But when we were doing the lesbian lounge, we focused on over 40 fatties, we called them, because you're putting on weight that you can't lose at this age. It was a certain like group of people that were, we our listeners, you could pick out of a crowd, like you knew exactly who was there. And we did, Women Fest in Key West and Pride festivals in Fort Lauderdale where JD was playing, and all kinds of Daytona Pride and Melbourne Pride and Treasure Coast and
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. And what I always noticed was the women that came out a little bit late were so, like, they had no inhibitions anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they had their hair buzzed in their flat top. They were wearing a backwards baseball cap and cargo shorts and tank tops, and they had their carabiner and their coolers packed, and they
You're
were
following. Yeah.
embracing it. Like they were embracing it, whether they were with their friends or they had a girlfriend or whatever. And it was just one of those things that we just would stand back and be like, these are our people, you know, like these are our people. And look at them. They're so happy. They're
Yeah.
so happy to just be in a spot, a safe place, the whole weekend, get to be their ridiculously gay selves. And
Yeah.
who knows what the rest of their lives are like. But
Right.
this weekend, they're
Pool
owning it.
parties.
Yeah.
The crazy pool parties with the ridiculous games.
Oh yeah, yeah. They'll do anything for a t-shirt. But that's
Yeah.
it was just like seeing that it was such a testament, of them being brave to begin with, taking that
Yeah.
first step. You could see that there was a first step, and now here's where we're at, and
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, it was
unbelievable.
absolute, like, unapologetic joy that we would see,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's amazing. It really is. And I think maybe it's safe to say that it really doesn't matter what age, whether they're young, old, later in life or whatever, when you get to the point where you're comfortable with yourself, your sexuality, your body, it's freeing, like it's freeing. It's a whole different outlook on life. And
Yeah.
it's really something to strive for, you know,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
need people to help us get there, and that's what I really
Yeah.
admire. I really admire what you're doing, because it's, like I said, I just look at people who have found it and embrace it, and like it's just, it's great to see. It really is. It must be really rewarding for you
So
to
rewarding.
work with someone that's way over here, and then you
Yeah.
get them to over here and see that transition of, where it went from, it was like like you said, dead inside depression,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to really own who they are and accept it and be happy and be authentic. What a amazing feeling that must be.
Yeah. The transformation that I have experienced as I journey with people through this process from like deep internalized homophobia and fear and everything that they're struggling with. They can't be gay, and what
Yeah,
are people going to say, and how are people going to respond, and what are people going to talk about, and to when they're fully out
yeah,
and living their best lives, whether they're partnered or not, but they have community and they've met other people through
yeah,
a lot through the program and whatnot. I mean, it gives me so much joy, like so much joy. It's like it's like when you just know that you're doing the exact right thing that you're meant to be doing, you know?
Yeah.
I just feel in
Yes.
the right place in those
Killing it.
moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good for you. Let's go over the different ways that people can find you,
Yeah.
websites,
What
and
is your podcast?
what the podcast is and how they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
contact you.
Yeah. So, and also on the podcast, I open it up for people who want to just have a talk about what they're feeling and they don't have to show their face and I can change their name. Also, but they can just come on and have a conversation with me, which is what I have on this week.
Great.
The podcast is called Unbox Yourself with Samantha Fox. So that's the name of the podcast.
Okay.
And yep. And then I'm on TikTok and Instagram as Lesbian Curiosity Coach.
Okay.
And my website is unboxyoursexuality.com.
Perfect.
And on there, you can set up a free call with me just set up a free discovery call. And also, I have a free 3-step guide to break free from compulsory heterosexuality. So if anybody just wants to get a little bit of a feel of what's, starting the work is like, this is a free guide. It's a video guide. It'll take you through steps with worksheets and whatnot to start to think about compulsory heterosexuality. And you could access that on the website or on Instagram or TikTok in my profile.
Oh, so cool. Well, God,
Wow.
Samantha, this has been so enlightening and
Yes.
inspiring and
Thank you.
informational. Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
on today for your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me on. This has been so
Fantastic.
great. And I love that you're both, I didn't even know you were both late bloomers. So that's just so exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what led me. That's what why I was drawn to your site, your page on Instagram.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
we will not take up any more of your time. Go out there and help many people.
Thank you. I will. Thanks so much for having me on. It was so fun chatting with you.
Lovely meeting you. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Too loud, but we scream and we'll never bow. Tears and scars forge this steel. No more doubts, this power's real. We are unbroken, we're the storm. All their rules, we've torn apart the norm. No apologies, hearts ablaze, we're the sun, we're the